As we stand here, it is vital for us to understand that our own government is complicit in the murders of Palestinians. Since the inception of Israel, Australia has always stood in support of its crimes. Last year, when 60 Palestinians were killed and 2,500 injured during the Great Return March, the United Nations Human Rights Council put forward a resolution to investigate these deaths. Only 2 countries voted against, and Australia was one of those 2 countries. Our next speaker, a long-term anti-war activist, will speak about the relations of Australia and Israel in more detail. I'd like to invite Jacob Recht.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. I want to acknowledge today that we meet on the lands of our Wurundjeri people, indigenous people of this land. A land which, just like the land of Palestine, has never been ceded and continues to be occupied. And I want to acknowledge the people of this land, past and present. Thank you for asking me to speak today. And I'm a little unwell, so please forgive my voice. And for this reason, I'm going to refer to notes. I'm not going to talk for too long. Nor am I going to have the audacity to try to talk to you people about the atrocities perpetrated on the ground every day in Palestine, in Nigeria, in Yemen, across the Middle East. You know that better than I. But in the last few days, violence has again hit the streets of our Quds, and that it happened yesterday makes it even more tragic. I want to acknowledge the escalation of violence in Jerusalem on Al-Quds Day. I can, however, speak of Australia's involvement in what's going on the ground in Palestine at the moment. Australia has recognised West Jerusalem as the capital city of Israel, and one of the very few countries that does. Now, many people say that the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel was just a brain snap by our Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and a really cheap attempt to garner votes in the eastern suburbs of Sydney ahead of the Wentworth by-election. That may be the case, but I also noticed that it didn't have a similar brain snap or a similar cheap attempt to garner votes in the western suburbs of Sydney or the northern suburbs of Melbourne by talking about the recognition of Palestine in places with large Arabic and Muslim populations. The truth is, unfortunately, and I'm ashamed to say it, as an Australian, I'm ashamed to say it, we have a government that is racist towards Muslim people, and in particular, towards brown-skinned Muslim people. The appointment of Jason Wood as our Minister for Multicultural Affairs, a man who has steadfastly stood against multiculturalism and who has made a career out of dog whistling and race baiting against brown-skinned and Muslim people, should leave us as to no doubt about what they think of us.
How do you feel about Hamas?
The current Morrison government, I must say that I'm not speaking politically partisan here, and alternative ALP government will be almost as bad, and has a problem. It's got a policy of aligning itself with, well, it is part of the Western capital interests, and supports the concept of US capital hegemony in the Middle East and around the world. And it's not purely a subservient relationship. Our government serves the same interests. To this end, it sees the Middle East not as a place of people, of villages, of children, of families. It sees it in terms of its resources, much like it sees Queensland as a gas field and Western Australia as an open pit mine. It sees the Middle East as an oil well. So its agenda is not to bring about human rights and peace. It's about maintaining the current state of affairs. And the current state of affairs, I don't need to tell you, is not a happy one. Australia is currently involved in the subjugation of the Palestinian people in a number of important ways. Firstly, as I said, by recognising West Jerusalem as the capital, and particularly doing so after the passage of the Israeli land laws, racist laws, which see Jerusalem, which specifically say that Jerusalem is an undivided city. It lends strong support to Israel's subjugation of Palestine and also undermines the efforts of many good people around the world in calling for Palestinian statehood and independence. Hello, brother, you know who I am. You know who I am. Free, free Palestine. Tell us
Palestine should be free. Palestine should be free. Down, down, Israel. Down, down, Israel.
Not only does Australia support Israel through the United Nations and other international bodies, it also opposes any countries who speak up against Israel's occupation of Palestine. And I'm speaking here in particular of supporting the United States in its current rhetoric against Iran and its support of the illegal actions in the Yemen, which is creating one of the greatest humanitarian crises that we've seen. Secondly, Australia is part of the Five Eyes intelligence network, made up of the United Kingdom, Canada, the United States, New Zealand, as well as ourselves. And this network is a network that intercepts all communication, commercial, private, as well as military, and uses it in military occupations across the Middle East. So whenever you hear of US intelligence in places like Yemen, Palestine, Lebanon, even Nigeria, think of Pine Gap and Kojarima in over in Western Australia. Thirdly, Australia has close ties with Israeli defence industries. And not just the Australian government, but the Victorian government. We're on the steps of Victorian Parliament House now, that maintains an office in Tel Aviv, aimed at increasing Victorian industries' involvement in the Israeli defence industry. So Australia is involved in the subjugation of the Palestinian people in a number of very important ways. It's not just about what happens in Palestine on the ground. As the Sheikh said, it's not just about what happens in the mosque, it's about what happens on the street. And it's not just about what happens in Palestine, it's about what we do all over the world to enable the Zionists to continue the subjugation of the Palestinian people. And finally, I want to take an opportunity to raise another very important and related issue. I've spoken a lot about negative things about Australia and Palestine, but there's also a positive thing about the city of Melbourne that I'm not from, but like many of you have come to call home. We know about the deals between the US and Israel. We know about the secret agreements between countries over using intelligence gained on Palestinians. We know about side deals between Israel and places like Saudi Arabia and Emirates. We know about the duplicitous work of certain Arab leaders. We know about these things because of whistleblowers who have leaked the information to us.
You know about Hamas?
Leak the information, we need to know the truth. We need to know the truth about what's happening. And leak the information, in many instances, through an organisation, at great cost to themselves, through an organisation that was born and bred here in Melbourne. Back in 2006, a bloke studying at Melbourne University came up with the idea of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. He did this not out of spite or malice, but because he believed people had a right to know the truth about what our governments were saying and doing in their name. Since that time, WikiLeaks has published hundreds of thousands of documents, none of which, not a single one, and no other publisher in the world can say this, not a single time has anything WikiLeaks produced been said to be false. Never have they had to retract a single document that they've leaked. Many of these have a direct relationship to Israel and Palestine. And because of this, Julian Assange has been framed and is being detained by the governments of the United Kingdom and the United States with the full complicity of his own country, Australia. He's currently in a hospital ward of Belmarsh Prison in London, a prison that was purpose-built for terrorists, murderers and rapists. He's there for the charge of skipping bail. It's most important here in Australia that we support the people who speak out against injustice and do what they can to speak the truth about what is really going on. Julian said that if lies can start a war, then the truth can start peace. And that is why he is currently in the hospital wing of a terrorist prison in London. And they're making all kinds of things up about him. They're saying he's not a journalist. I saw a sign here somewhere, end of Takfirism. We know what Takfirism is and how it refers in the Islamic world. This is what they're doing to Julian in a small way. They're saying he's not one of us. They threaten to take away his Australian passport. They say he's not a journalism. They use the same methods against the speakers of truth as they do to all oppressed people around the world. There's not a lot I can ask you to do today to support Julian at this time other than this. Talk to the people involved. Talk to your teachers, your imams, your work friends, your colleagues, your families. Learn the truth about what Julian is saying, about why WikiLeaks is there. Go to wikileaks.org and look up, do a search on Palestine, do a search on Israel, and look at some of the documents they've released. And when you do that, you'll know the truth. And then when you know the truth, when his name comes up, when you hear him being smeared, just as we do with the people of Palestine, we can defend him. And we can know the truth because it is only the truth that can set us free. And standing up for the truth is all in the end anyone can ask us to do. Thank you again for listening to me today.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Down, down, Israel!
Down, down Israel!
Down, down, Israel!
Down, down Israel!
Down, down, Israel!
Down, down Israel!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free! He's using force! Free, free Palestine!